Good morning, students. We are going to start our history, chapter number 11, the National Movement, first phase, part 2. Students, in previous part of this chapter, we have read about the rise of nationalism and how Britishers unified the country, spread of modern education, with the role of press and the immediate factors, and also about the Albert Bill and formation of political associations. Now, in this chapter, we are starting this part from the Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress. Bitter, when Surendranath Banerjee was busy in organizing the conference at Calcutta, at same time, a retired British official, Alan Octavian Hume, called a meeting in Bombay, and he wanted to form an association which would be under the supervision of the Britishers and which would let the Britishers or the government know about the demands of the Indian people. But behind this, the reason was that he did not want it any other nationwide outbreak like that took place in 1857. But this meeting was held by A.O. Hume at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College from 28 December to 30 December in 1885. 72 delegates from all over the country participated in it or attended this Indian National Congress. But they include some eminent leaders like Vomesh Chandra Banerjee, Dadabhai Naroji, Firoz Shah Mehta, Badruddin Tayyabji, S. Subramaniam Iyer, Dinsha Vacha, Kashinath Trimbak Telang, P. Ananda Charlu, Gopal Ganesh Agarkar, M. V. Raghavacharya, G. Subramaniam Iyer, N. G. Chandravakar, and Rahmatullah Sayani. These were the main better leaders of that time, or you can say eminent leaders of that time who attended this Indian National Congress at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College in Calcutta. Come to the next thing, beta. Let us talk. The Congress had very modest beginning. It held its session in a different parts of India, and beta in a once a year this meeting was held. And in the beginning, beta, Congress regularly attended the meeting and participated actively in this Congress. But what was the aim of the Congress? Beta, aim was number one, to bring together leaders from all parts of the country to discuss problems related to the India. And secondly, beta, to form an action plan to get concessions from the British. The moderate phase. But when we talk about the first 20 years of the Congress, at that time, moderates were dominant in this party. When we talk about these moderates, they were Surendranath Banerjee, Dinsha Vacha, Firoz Shah Mehta, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. These were the important moderate leaders. But these moderate leaders, their objectives and methods were moderate, and they believed in constitutional methods and in methods of persuasion. For that, they regularly sent petitions and resolutions to the government asking for freedom of speech and expression, expansion of welfare programs, promotion of education, recruitment of Indians to high posts in administration, more powers for legislative councils, holding the civil service examination in India, change the economic policies of the government, a cut in military expenditure, and stopping the drain of India's wealth to Britain. British attitude towards the Congress. But in the beginning few years of the formation of the Congress, Britishers actively participated in it and also attended sessions of the Congress. But soon they became hostile or turned hostile towards it because they realized that instead of becoming a mean to contain the anger of the masses, the Congress was becoming the focus of Indian nationalism. Let us talk about the radical phase. Bitter failure of the moderates to achieve political reforms from the government. The new group of leaders arose, and this new group of leaders were called radical nationalists or simply radicals. It was led by Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Vipin Chandra Pal. That is why these all three leaders were popularly known as Lal, Bal, and Pal. And they felt that the present way of Congress was ineffective. They were in favor of more radical objectives and methods. They called for strong political actions such as strike, boycotts, demonstrations, and awakening among the people. Bitter and to achieve political reforms by these all things. Bal Gangadhar Tilak called for the attainment of Swaraj. He declared that Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. Partition of Bengal, 1905. Better it was on 19th July 1905. The Viceroy Lord Curzon issued an order dividing the province of Bengal. At that time, this province was not only that much. उस समय क्या क्या था इस बंगाल के प्रोविंस में? लेट अस सी. इट वाज हैविंग द वेस्ट बंगाल, बिहार, झारखंड, उड़ीसा एंड बांग्लादेश. दिस होल पार्ट वाज डिवाइडेड इनटू टू पार्ट. ईस्ट बंगाल जो अब बांग्लादेश है बेटा, और आधा वेस्ट बंगाल, और हमारे देश में जो इंडिया में ये सारे झारखंड, बिहार वगैरह का पार्ट आ गया. इन दो पार्ट में इसे डिवाइड कर दिया गया था. एंड it was said that it was divided according to the majority of the population of the Muslims in the Bangladesh. On that basis, it was separated. And it was also said by the Britishers that it was a very, very big province and administration बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा था. इसीलिए administration को efficiently करने के लिए इसे दो पार्ट में डिवाइड किया गया. But the real reason behind the partition was totally different. ये इसलिए बिटर पार्टीशन किया गया था क्योंकि बंगाल में हमारा जो मूवमेंट था, नेशनल मूवमेंट था, वो बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग था. एंड बाय द पार्टीशन ऑफ द बंगाल, द ब्रिटिश ट्राइड टू वीकन द बिटर मूवमेंट, एंड दे ऑल्सो ट्राइड टू डिसयूनाइट और ब्रेक डाउन द यूनिटी ऑफ हिंदू एंड मुस्लिम. लेकिन इस पार्टीशन को पूरे देश में क्रिटिसाइज किया गया. सारे सेक्शंस जितने थे हमारे समाज के, उन सब ने इसका अपोज किया. एंड डिमॉन्स्ट्रेशंस, पब्लिक मीटिंग्स वगैरह हेल्ड होने लगी पूरे बंगाल प्रोविंस में. और जो अंग्रेजों ने सोचा था कि ये जो मूवमेंट है इसे इस तरह से प्रोविंस को डिवाइड करके ये वीक कर देंगे, वो उतना ही और स्ट्रॉन्ग हो गया. The day of the partition took effect on 16th October, which was observed as a day of mourning. No business was conducted in the entire province. The national movement, instead of weakening, became more organized, radical, and mass-based. Swadeshi and boycott. Partition of Bengal gave rise to two new methods of struggle, and they were Swadeshi and boycott. Swadeshi literally means of one's own country. बेटा इसका एम था कि अपने देश में बनी हुई चीज़ों को पॉपुलराइज करना, जिससे कि हमारी इंडस्ट्रीज प्रॉस्पर कर सकें. एंड बॉयकॉट का मीनिंग था फॉरेन गुड्स का बॉयकॉट करना. जो ब्रिटिश बनाकर अपने देश में सामान हमारे देश में बेच रहे थे, उनके इस्तेमाल पर रोक लगाना. और ये मूवमेंट बेटा बंगाल से स्टार्ट होकर धीरे धीरे पूरे देश में फैल गया. और इस मूवमेंट में बेटा केवल जो क्रांतिकारी थे या जो उस समय के फ्रीडम फाइटर्स थे, उन्होंने ही भाग नहीं लिया, बल्कि आम लोगों ने भी इसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया। इसमें वुमेन्स और बेटा चिल्ड्रंस ने भी पार्टिसिपेट किया। नॉट ओनली दिस, वॉशरमैन ने भी रिफ्यूज़ कर दिया अंग्रेज़ों के कपड़े धोने से या उनको सर्विसेज देने से। इन दिस वे बेटा दिस मूवमेंट हेल्प अ लॉट in the Indian freedom movement. Surat split 1907. Beta, the struggle which started from the partition of Bengal had temporarily united the moderate and the radical leaders of the Congress. But beta, at the Congress session in 1907 at Surat, there was a split between the two groups. The moderate began to control the Congress and the radical decided to function from outside. The two groups were reunited in the Congress session at Lucknow in 1916. Morley-Minto Reforms 1909. Bete, a smart step taken by the government. To pacify the moderate leaders, the government announced the Indian Council Act, which was also known as Morley-Minto Reforms. But what were the main features of these act? Let us say, number one, more members were to be inducted into the Central Legislative Council and the Provincial Legislative Council. And number two, the system of separate electorates was introduced. इससे क्या किया बेटा इन लोगों ने दो इलेक्टोरेट्स बना दिए। जो मुस्लिम बहुल एरिया होगा वहाँ से मुस्लिम कैंडिडेट्स इलेक्शन लड़ेंगे, और जहाँ पर हिंदू बहुल एरिया होगा वहाँ पर से हिंदू कैंडिडेट इलेक्शन लड़ेगा। This was done to pacify the leaders of the Muslim League, which had been formed a few years earlier. Revolutionary movement, the first phase. But when we talk about the first phase, we see that in the 20th century, the growth of revolutionary movement in Bengal, Punjab and Maharashtra. And these revolutionaries beta advocated the use of force to expel the British from India. They formed secret societies to train their members in use of the firearms and explosive. At that time, beta, two most active revolutionary society were the Abhinav Bharat Society in Maharashtra and the Anushilan Samiti in Bengal. At that time, beta, revolutionaries took to assassinations of the British officials. Not only this, beta, in 1908 in Muzaffarpur, Bihar, Khudiram Bose and Prafulla Chowki threw a bomb at King's Fort, the district judge's court. And in 1912, an attempt was made on the life of Viceroy Lord Hardinge. Some revolutionaries were also active abroad, especially in Europe and America. The Ghadar Party was a revolutionary association, and it is an example of such association which were working from outside the country. Not only this, beta, there were so many other leaders, revolutionary leaders who worked from the outside India. They were Lala Hardayal, Ras Bihari Bose, Shyama Ji Krishna Verma, Madam Bhika Ji Kama, Muhammad Barkatullah, Sohan Singh Bakhana, V.D. Savarkar and Ubaidullah Sindhi. Bete, the British used all the means to suppress the revolutionary. Khudiram Bose was hanged. Arvindo Ghosh and Barendra Kumar Ghosh were put in the jail, and some revolutionaries were sentenced to life imprisonment. The revolutionaries of this period became national heroes, and beta, by this, the second part of the movement was given in the hands of the men called Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi to mobilize the masses and to carry the national movement to the next phase. That's all in the chapter. Thank you, students, and have a nice day.